Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live at the Music Hall here in Williamsburg, here in Brooklyn, New York. Actor, activist, writer, poet, as well as musician Saul Williams tonight is making a rare appearance here in Brooklyn, and he's performing selections off his brand new CD called Volcanic Sunlight. Tonight we're going to sit down and talk about, one, why he decided to record this project, and two, how he's evolved as a musician as well as a performance artist. We're also going to sit down and talk about and analyze what it's like him leaving the United States and moving over to Paris, and how it's definitely helped his art as well as his writing, as well as sit down and talk about his career. So sit back and relax and enjoy my interview with Mr. Saul Williams live here at the Music Hall here in Williamsburg, here in Brooklyn, New York. Is totally different from your last project, and I see this album is a little happier. There's a little more dance grooves on this one, as well as it seems like you're in a very different space where you are as a performer.
It's not that I'm 100% in a different space, although it's impossible not to be as time progresses and as moments shift. However, I like being alive. I like the difference between, let's say, 17 and 19, 19 and 23, 20. As I grow, I like what I learn, and there are different confidences, different insecurities that arise, and different nuances to explore, essentially. And with this album, I wanted to, as you said, pretty much explore the side of me that I don't always share publicly, because my friends don't think of me as some, very politicized poet. My friends think of me as I don't know exactly how they think of me, but I know that if I tried to be that way around them, they wouldn't be my friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never was that. That's something that I've, nurtured creatively, part out of a sense of urgency and opportunity. When I was given my first record deal or book deal, I felt like it was important for me to say certain things that when I looked at what had made an impression on me through media, I knew there's a voice that I felt was missing. And so I tried to fill that void publicly, privately. Usually the thing that might be missing in a room is the joke or the shot of tequila. Who knows? You never know what could be missing in a playful moment, in a real moment where there's no microphones, And so I wanted to share that side of me because, one, I was happy when I wrote it, and I didn't feel like, saying I want my money back or something, I wanted to document another aspect of myself also, so that there'd be a rounder picture of me for those of you who know me externally, who know me through media. I'd rather create a rounder picture than to be, to fall under, you know, this singular idea. I try to share different aspects. Yeah, it's virtual reality, isn't it? You know, like, that's the whole thing. You know, if I'm gonna be a hologram, I'm gonna be a full hologram, not just a voice. And then we added other stuff to bring out what's already there. And so yeah, Renaud was amazing to work with, and yeah, and so yeah, this is the music I felt like hearing. That was the other thing. I wanted to make an album that sounded like what I wanted to hear, which isn't much different from Niggy Tardust in its time, you know, like that's what I felt like hearing at that time. However, Trent's signature is very heavily there, and I enjoy that. That's part of what collaboration with him meant, and I enjoyed that. It's a different approach, you know, a different muscle to use this album.
You have stepped in the role as a visual artist, and I say visual artist in the sense that you act, that you perform slam poetry, and that you are now a musician. And how do you hold and play all those roles? Because now it seems like you want to get back into the acting part now.
Me, I always wanted to act. I did music and poetry kind of as an out-of-work actor. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I plan on doing. But I grew up in theater. And people do not write theater for money. People write theater out of a lot of different things, but seldom for money, which is to say, even if you don't understand the play or don't like the play, there's something you can sink your teeth into in a lot of theater. And after Slam, I was offered a lot of opportunities, but not opportunities necessarily that I wanted to sink my teeth into. And so I could, however, sink my teeth into poetry. I could sink my teeth into music. And so I maintained that connection rather than just following the trail that I was on of like, oh, acting, that's what I do. Well, here's a job. I get to be this guy in this movie. And that wasn't interesting to me. And so, but I knew that I was also kind of planting a seed. If I was going to explore my character rather than somebody else's character, I knew that it would eventually sort of come back to me. Like, as I would speak at universities across the country, I'd meet young directors who would say, student directors who would say stuff like, I'm writing a film with you in mind. And I'm like, okay, well, one day they're going to be older, and that stuff is going to happen. And of course, I write my own ideas too, but I take my time because the way that Slam happened was not planned. I always wanted to act. I never thought of writing my own vehicles. You know, I never thought of writing my own films. I'd never thought of that. The director of Slam gave me that idea. He was like, you have to write it. It's like, oh, I didn't even know I was capable, you know? And so I'm learning with that. And so I've had ideas in film, too, that I've been writing with time. But in order to do that, there's more, because I'm more of a perfectionist, I guess, you know, like if I'm going to do that, I'm going to learn how to hold a camera. I'm going to learn how to make the music. I'm going to learn how to do a lot of stuff. So that's also what I've been doing in all these things as I've been studying, you know, to eventually be able to do the full idea of what I want to do, you know, but I've just been studying out loud. And so it's not necessarily a lot of roles to step into. It's all connected. Who doesn't listen to music while they read? You know, picking up a pen is, for me, something I just didn't stop when the school bell rang, you know? And that's because of hip-hop, you know? Like, essentially, I was inspired to write when I was 8 or 9 years old because I heard Tila Rock and LL Cool J and Rakim and KRS-One and all them cats. And I was like, this is dope. I could do that. You know, I like that. I thought it was dope. I still do. And so there it's just playing with words, playing with language. But there are benefits and rewards, which means I like to keep it up because it helps me think differently. It helps me hear things within things, you know? And it also helps me shift and nuance my own experience because I realize that the world and life can somewhat correspond to what you say and how you say it, you know? In a way that, like, you know, the way you ask the question determines the answer, you know. So I play with the way I ask questions, you know, and invent answers, you know.
your part as an artist? I mean, you know, when your first record came out, you worked with the legendary Rick Rubin, and your last record was produced by Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, and now this producer seems like he captured a very, very, like you said earlier, a different side of you that is, it's not dark, it's not funky, it's just really kind of diverse.
Yeah, well, the thing that I worked with Renaud Latung, who's a guy who I knew as a producer before I knew him by name because of artists he produced like Manu Chao, Feist, Jamiroquai, Charlotte Gainsbourg, tons of different people that I appreciated his work, you know, with, and like Seu George, tons of people where I was like, and what I found with him was that that he was not the type of producer who put his signature on their work, that he was the type of producer who really was helping an artist nurture and kind of nuance their own signature, like who they are, what they like. Basically, I came to him with my demos, finished my, you know, like, this is what I want to do. This is the album. I had all the songs except for one, without words, just the music. I was like, this is the sound. And I had the words in my head, or most of them, so I would sing them to him with the music. And he got it. He was like, that's what we should do. And so there's a few things we did, which was like all the horn ideas, which I had done on keyboard, we replaced with real horns. All the drumming that I had done with drum machines, we kept and added live drums to make it harder. And, you know, and other instruments you know, but it really, it's you know, I'm playing more on this album than I ever have. Like, on every song, it's me doing something, and then we added other stuff to bring out what's already there. And so yeah, Renaud was amazing to work with, and yeah, and so yeah, this is the music I felt like hearing. That was the other thing. I wanted to make an album that sounded like what I wanted to hear, which isn't much different from Niggy Tardust in its time, you know, like that's what I felt like hearing at that time. However, Trent's signature is very heavily there, and I enjoy that. That's part of what collaboration with him meant, and I enjoyed that. It's a different approach, you know, a different muscle to use this album. I love everything about.
You know, another part of your amazing artistry is your writing. And I read something very interesting about you, that everywhere you've moved, you were at a different part where you were when you were writing. And it seems like Paris has become your home. And where are you writing now, how are you writing now? And are you on a schedule, and what should people be looking forward to?
I write in many ways the same way I always have, you know, just which is when I feel like it. I mean, where I am right now is this. One, I've always written in journals. I like writing in journals, you know, like, and it's not just any journal. Like, sometimes people gift me journals, but if it's not exactly in my aesthetic, I accept it gracefully, but I may not use it to write. Because I used to work with a designer of journals, actually, who would make journals for me for years, for about 5 years. And then she stopped. She moved in a different direction. And for years, I haven't been able to find things I felt like writing in. And that affected me. So the journal I'm writing in now is the first journal I made. You know? And so maybe that's how living there has affected me is that I'm more of a utilitarian. Like, I need this, so I'll create it, you know? And so that's cool. And what you expect from me is the next thing I have coming out is September 4th. I have a book called Chorus coming out through MTV Books, which is a literary mixtape. What I did was I put out a call through social media for poets to send me poems for a mixtape I wanted to do in book form. And I got 8,000 poems, and I chose 100 with the help of two. It's my bad. And we chose 100 poems, and with the help of two editors, we chose 100 poems, and from there I put the titles in the back, and just kept the poems, 100 of them, read them, and tried to find a singular theme, a through line, to connect them. So if the titles are not there to distract, you just have words going into more words, you know? And so took 100 voices and tried to form one voice out of 100. And then, in red ink, took those 100 poems that were there and wrote a poem restricting my vocabulary to the words that were on the page over those 100. And that kind of encapsulates what I think the idea of the book is. And because it's interesting to have not asked for anything specific and sort of receive about 8,000 poems, and to see this is to be able to like gauge a temperature, a climate of like, this is what people are thinking right now. Here's an example, a slice of, you know, because I didn't say, send me a poem about this or that, you know? So you see all these poems and a theme arises. Oh, you choose 100 of the best representations of those themes. Not the best, because also I choose some based on just what's easy to follow or what distracts less. There are great poems that had too many historical references. And I was like, that's great, but I'm trying to push forward. And so that poem didn't necessarily fit, but it's a great poem, you know? So there were lots of things that started appearing once I realized the theme, you know? So anyway, that's coming out in September. And after that, we'll see. Mostly film. Like the film that I did recently that's in Berlin right now is called Aujourd'hui, which in English means today. And it takes place in a fictitious African village where the dead come to choose one person to go back to the land of dead with them, and that person is the chosen. And happens once per generation, and you find out on the morning of your last day that it's your last day. And so it just follows this character for the last 24 hours of his life, what he wants to do, what he wants to do in his last 24 hours. So I played that role. It's written and directed by a man named Alain Gomis, who's a French-Senegalese director, and that's something else. Yeah, so, but in terms of writing, I have no idea what I'll be writing next. Mostly it's all film directed. It's all towards film.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the Music Hall of Williamsburg here in Brooklyn, New York. I'd like to personally thank Mr. Saul Williams for his time, as well as the staff and management here at the Music Hall here in Williamsburg. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace. It seems to me,